I want to thank pastors for the opportunity first off, because, if it wasn't for you guys and all the support that y'all give this church, we couldn't do this. So thank you guys, and thank you, Pastor Cord, for the opportunity. It's a real honor. I want to thank my parents, because without the right direction, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't do what I'm doing, meaning in the sense of where I get to preach at school and where I get to share what I know with the youth. So I owe big thanks to you guys for it. As a little kid, I'm going to give you a little background story because it's funny. I used to talk a lot of crap, especially for games. And I know my dad's like, because it's true. I used to cheat like a lot, and I found my way to win anything. And so I'd always talk crap to my dad, and I'd be like, yo, Dad, let's go. Come on, I'm about to beat you on this, right? 5 seconds later, I'm crying. Yeah, pride. It's a big issue. And so that brings my message of the positioning of pride. We can put it up there. The reason I came up with this was, as a little kid, I used to be very prideful, and I didn't know how to control my emotion, how to control my tongue. And that put me in a lot of bad places. Not in a sense of with bad people or stuff, in a sense of an emotional state where I just was too busy talking crap, and I didn't hold my tongue and swallow my ego. And so right now, if you look, the pride is at an angle. The reason being is pride positions us to fall down. And so that's the whole point behind that. We can be placed by many different things. We can let our emotions position us, but pride is one that will always lead to going down. And so my theme scripture is going to be Proverbs 29:23, which is in the NLT version. I do bring different versions, so I'll put them up there so y'all have it. And it says, pride ends in humiliation while humility brings honor. So pride will always put you down, and it will always put you in a place where you don't need to be. And it's very unnecessary. Sometimes we let our ego get in the way of things and get big-headed, and we let that pride position us when we could position ourselves for better. And so when we let our ego get in the way, we let it get in the way of our calling. That's dangerous because God has a plan for us. But when we do our own things, we're not letting that plan be fulfilled.
Come on, preach it.
And then whenever we're not letting that plan being fulfilled, guess what happens? We start focusing on the bad.
All right.
Everything that God never gave us that we wanted. And that's dangerous because then we're saying he's a bad God. He's not a real good God. Oh no, God's not real. Why? Because I didn't get this, I didn't get that. And we let our emotions get the best of us and forget all the good that God can do. And so there's 3 major stages to pride, and those are success, being that everything is going good around you. 2 is deception. The devil deceives you to block your eyes, and he blinds you so you don't know what's coming next. And 3, the worst part of all, is the downfall. That's when we realize that we're just not anywhere going to go anywhere. And so the definition of pride is excessive self-esteem or big-headed, snobbish behavior or treatment of others. Now, pride has 2 definitions in this one: excessive self-esteem and snobbish behavior or treatment of others. So we have 2 different kinds of people with pride. And so right now, I want everybody to think of a prideful person. All right? Now, think of a biblical prideful person. We have many people. We have Samson. He said, I could do everything through his strength whenever the Spirit of the Lord was actually giving him that strength. But the major one that everyone thinks about is Lucifer. He was the best angel, could play the harp, entertain God, the prettiest, and he still let that get in the way of his emotions. And so, with the best angel, that's his success right there. Oh, I'm the best. Guess what? It's me. But he wanted God's place. He deceived himself. He said, God, I want what you have. I want to put myself in that place. And we don't let God do that. We can't do that to God. And so when we go to Luke 14:12 and 14 in the New King James Version, this is the downfall of, Isaiah 14. It says, how you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. You are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. For you have said in your heart," this is what Lucifer was saying to himself, "I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north, and I will ascend above the most high of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High." Right there, he let his pride get in the way of him. And what had happened? He became Satan at that moment. God threw him out of heaven and said, "You're not allowed to be up here." And with that, he was able to deceive 1/3 of the angels. That's his downfall right there. So we start off with him being the best. Then we go on to, okay, I want what God has. This is my thing. So there's his pride, his deception, and then we have his downfall. Now, if we go later on into Luke, we have the story of the prodigal son. Now, the story of the prodigal son is a story. It never really happened, but it was a teaching to show that what the Pharisees were doing to the other people. And so we start off in Luke 15:12. It says, "The younger son told his father, 'I want my share of your estate now before you die.' So his father agreed to divide the wealth between the sons." Okay, cool. I got my money. Like Pastor Corey said this Sunday, he said, if he would have waited till he died, who knows how much more money he would have had. Now, this isn't about the money. This is about what he did to himself. So as soon as he said, "I want my money now," we can already see his arrogance. He's like, "God, Dad, get out. Give me my money. It's mine. This don't belong to you. I can do whatever I want with it." Many times we do that to ourselves. So back onto that pride, it brought disregard to his father's authority. His dad said, "All right, here you go. Take the money." Well, what did he do? He was like, "Dad, I want my money now. I'm not waiting until later." And so he got his money, and his dad's like, "All right, you don't respect me. I'm the father of the house, and you still don't respect me, and you want your money now?" So we can already see his pride's kicking in. He's like, "Come on, give it." And so he got the stuff, right? There's his success, getting the stuff he wanted. What if the father would have said no? It would have been a completely different story. So what did the son do? He grabbed his money, went off to a distant land. He spent all that money in wild living, partying and clubbing. Not the smartest choice. Could have invested in a job, a business. Who knows? He could have been richer than what his father was. And when he moved, he was enjoying life, which he got deceived by all the fun in the life. And so we got the success of getting the money. We have the deception, which is having fun and forgetting about what I could do with that money. Instead of worrying about the future, he was worried about the now. And when we worry about the future more than the now, we say bye to that pride, and we're saying, "God, I want you to lead me. I want you to take my steps. I want you to take every step that I take with me." And then we don't let that pride get in the way. And that's a whole lot safer than worrying about the now. Because when we worry about the now too much, we start building stress on each other. We start building stress, and when we start building stress, we start getting down to ourselves, and we hurt ourselves. And so when that famine came, he was broke. He had no money whatsoever. A famine came in the land, and guess what? I have nothing to do. So where am I going to go? And so this is what came to my mind. The pride that has you on the up today is the same pride that will put you on the down tomorrow. What does that mean? Pride can have you so successful today and thrown on the ground tomorrow. So he was so focused on today, look where he ended up tomorrow. That is dangerous, especially if you're just a child trying to live on your own. We go on to Luke 15 and 16. And what did he do? He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and that man sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods that he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. Big deal. He's working with the pigs. That is a very big deal. Why? In Moses' law, pigs were unclean for the Jews. That's why they don't eat pork, because it's unclean for them. Meaning, they couldn't be used for eating, for sacrifices, and other stuff like that. So, to protect themselves in a sense from defilement, they would not touch pigs. They wouldn't even go near them. Why? Because it was unclean. And so, to be in a position to feed pigs and feed on what they ate, that was a big humiliation. He just reached rock bottom. But look on the bright side. God is always there to pick us up when we're down. So, honestly, I don't like to say this, but I went through this. I went through so many bad, well, not so many. We've all been through bad things, but there was one thing that I went through this summer and it hurt. I was at rock bottom. The good thing about being rock bottom, there's only one way to go, and that's up. And so we got to look at what God can give us rather than letting ourselves position where we want it. Because in Proverbs it says, our plans lead to death, while God's plans lead to prosperity. And we want that prosperity rather than that death, don't we?
Yes.
Now that doesn't mean make your plan. Don't make your plan. It's all right to have a plan. But God will always steer you the direction you need to go. He'll open doors, he'll close doors. So we have to go through those open doors that he lets us go through. Now that doesn't mean every open door is going to be a success. There may be something that he needs you to go through, so that way then he can kick you back out to get you right to where you need it to. We've all gone through things that haven't gone good. They look like they're going to go good, and then it explodes in our face. Now what's the good thing about that? God taught us something that we needed for the future. And guess what? Somebody in your future is that support.
That's right.
Many times the devil will deceive our mind to make us think we're the only ones going through things. Well, guess what? Your neighbor may be the only one going through the exact same thing you are. There's always somebody going through the exact same things you are. And the reason you go through them is so either you can help that person or that person can help you.
Yeah.
That's why if you look at the Bible and you make a message over everything, everything's connected in some sort of way. We're all connected because of God.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the great things about letting God be the center, letting him lead us. Because he'll always connect us to those people that we need to. And we won't end up in the pig's den with eating with them. And so, if we continue onto Luke 15, 17, and 19, the son is planning to tell his father, so his father would have pity for him. He said, when he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I'm dying of hunger. Oh look, he's worried about himself again. He's already at rock bottom. He's like, dang, look at me. He's starting to realize his mistakes. So he continues on to say, I will go home to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against you and against heaven. I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant. Look at what his pride made him say. He said, I'm not worthy of being your son anymore. Take me on as a servant. He was always his son.
Right.
His father was always going to love him. But he let his pride cloud his judgment. And so what did he say? He said, Father, I have sinned against you and heaven. Feel pity for me. He's saying, I suck. Like, come on.
Right.
Give me something. He's telling him, give me something. He was too busy letting his pride position him that he didn't think about just, look, I messed up. Let's move on.
That's good.
Just move on. Pastor Corey made a message, and I listened to it, and it was actually a really good message. Where do I draw the line? If we screw up, start doing a new starting line and just move on.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. People can say what they want to say. And guess what? I don't care what they say. Because I know the guy above has something better.
Amen. That's it.
And so, unfortunately, many of us are rebellious, like this younger son. And we have to hit rock bottom before we realize our mistakes. So I went through that. And as a family, that made us stronger. We decided, all right, let's move on and let go.
That's good.
But when we hit rock bottom, we're like, nah, we can't go to God. This ain't good for us. Let me put up a facade. Let me put up a mask so God can see that I'm clean. Mm-hmm. But he already knows your motives. He knows your heart. Man looks on the outside, but he looks on the heart.
Right.
So he already knows your heart. Oh, God, I'm clean. Look at me. I'm perfectly fine.
Right.
That's irrelevant now. He already knows you. He already knows what you were going to go through. So why try to set up a fake mask when he already knows? Just come to him as you are. He loves you the way you are. He loves you too much to leave you the way you are.
Good.
So just because you're hurt, just because you hit rock bottom, doesn't matter. Come to him like that. He will give you a fresh start. He will give you a new chance, a clean slate. He's always done it, and he always will. And so, if we go on to Luke 15, 22, and 24. The son's coming back to his dad. And he's like running, he's walking. And what does the dad do? He runs out. His father was so quick to react and said, but his father said to the servants, quick, bring in the finest robe in the house and put it on him. A robe. The finest robe. Not just any robe, the finest robe. So quick to react to him. Get him a ring for his finger. What's so significant about a ring? A ring showed authority. His dad was wealthy. His dad owned probably many businesses. And so it showed power. Look at me. I'm the son of this guy. Look at me. I'm the son. I'm the son. I can own this someday. Showed power. And then he said, bring sandals. Sandals showed that he wasn't a slave. Servants at that time were barefoot because they were just a servant. But if you were family, you wear shoes. Why? Because you were part of a wealthy family. Why? Because you were part of something and you weren't a slave. And so it goes on to say, and kill the calf that we have been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast for the son of mine who was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he's found. So the party began. He was lost, but now he's found. He was at rock bottom, but now he's up.
Right. Amen.
You see, God always has a better position for us than what we have when we let our pride get in the way.
Good. Amen.
And so, like I said, the father was so quick to react. He ran outside. He didn't have to run outside. He could be... almost there, almost here, waiting. But he decided to run out there. And so, if we look back, Luke 15 is 3 stories. The story of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the prodigal son, or the lost son. And when we look at the lost sheep, we have 100 sheep and a shepherd. The shepherd's walking outside, turns around, counts. One's missing. All right, what am I going to do? Am I going to stay with my 99, or am I going to go find that other one? Many of us would be like, oh, it's just one sheep. Let's keep going. But no, he decided to go after that one sheep while the other 99 stayed. And in Luke 15, 16, we see what the shepherd does when he comes back with it. It says, when he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, rejoice with me, because I found my lost sheep. Isn't that what the dad did with the son? He said, quick, bring him this, bring him that. Get the calf. Let's start a party. Rejoice with me, because I found my lost sheep.
Yeah.
Many times we stray from God's plan. And we do what we want, even though we know we shouldn't do it. And it's all right. We all do that. But that's why God's there to pick us up. And God is dying to give us all the gifts that we need at that moment. Not all the gifts he's going to give us in 20 years, because we're not ready for that.
Right.
So that's why we have to prepare our hearts to gain that. So he's dying. He's like, here, take it. Take it. It's here for you. But we're like, nah, I got this. I don't need you. Many times we're standing in the rain and he's offering us a raincoat. But we'd rather stand out in the rain than take his hand.
Yeah. That's right.
We let our pride push him aside instead of letting him hold our hand and walk with us.
Right. Good.
But when we come back to God, he embraces us and rejoices, and a party happens in heaven. It says, though, in Luke 15:7, in the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner, the one lost sheep, who repents and returns to God, than over 99 who were stayed righteous and never strayed away. Why is that so significant? The 99 were staying faithful. They kept worshiping God. They kept staying with the father, with the shepherd.
Good.
But that 99 that said, nope, let me walk away. This isn't going so well. Let me go back to God. So when we come back, God's happy. And now he can give us those gifts again.
Yeah.
But that's not the end of the story. Then we come to the brother, the older brother, working on the fields. And he says, yo, servant, come here. What's going on? I see you grabbing that big old calf over there. What's happening? And so the servant tells him, well, your brother returned. And that your father's throwing a party for your brother. Oh, no. Dad's favoring the younger one. What about me?
Yeah.
And prideful people love to say this. If you listen to someone carefully, all they say is, I and I know. Why? Because I know. I'm that kind of person. Hey, Michael, go take out the trash. I know. Michael, take out the trash. I know, I will. And all those phrases, all I said was I. I focused on myself. There isn't an I in team, but there's an I in the smack dab middle of pride.
That's good.
Just think about it. If we go on to the other slide, we have 2 scriptures. I want to focus on this one real quick. Okay? So, this is the older brother's pride now. Okay? So, he was angry and would not go in. Therefore, his father came out and pleaded with him. The dad came out of his way to bring back the son. He took his time that he could be doing something for the party to come to the son and tell him, yo, come in. I need you. You're my son too. I'm not going to throw you aside.
That's good.
And he answered to his father. He said, oh, really? These years I have been serving you, and I have never transgressed against your commandment. And at any time I never left you. So that's 2 eyes, he said. And yet you never gave me a young goat, that I might take Mary with my friends. But as soon as a son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with harlots is like just random living, you killed the fattened calf for him. With pride, we start to neglect others. In this case, he neglected his family. And he would not go inside because of his pride. He said, nah, I ain't worried about that. When he started to neglect others, he put himself above them. He said, nah, I ain't worried about that. I got better things to do. It's me. It's me. It's not you. It's not him. It's me. And so, honestly, my dad would have said, all right, cool, you can sleep outside. I just saw the faces of some of y'all. Y'all are like, I don't know if I should laugh or if I should call CPS. It's all good. It's a joke. Told you. But Hebrews 10:24 and 25 says, let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. It's telling us, hey, let's motivate one another. We're here for each other. We're a family. What we all are, we're the body of Christ. We're a family. We're here to build each other up and keep working for what God has. If I don't have one leg, I can't walk well. That's what the leg serves for. If I don't have one ear, I can't hear well. So everything connects with each other in order to work. I was watching a video the other day with my mom, and it's about laminin. What's laminin? It's a protein in your body that holds everything together. What's so special about laminin? And if you go onto YouTube, you'll see Louis Giglio talk about this. The shape of laminin is actually a cross. So, literally, God's in our DNA. Literally. Not only do we carry his blood, but we have that same DNA. And so, instead of putting ourselves above each other, we should motivate one another to keep ourselves together. And so then we go on. Let's go back to Isaiah 14 real quick for a second. And I want to focus on the part where God said, all right, this is what you said, Lucifer. He said, I will ascend to heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation of the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. 5 eyes. How many letters in pride? No, I'm just kidding. That has nothing to do with it. I was just messing around. But the brother almost got to the same level as pride if you look at it. 3 eyes, 2 more away from 5. I. Lucifer said, I. How many times do we say I? Many times we become like the brother and get angry at others' blessings. His son came back and he said, why is he getting that? Why is he getting the calf that I have worked for, that I've stayed faithful for, and I don't get a prize for it? Why don't I? I'm going to bring an example up. It's like being a church member for many years. Many times we sit in these chairs. We're like, cool, I'm a member of a church. And then we see somebody else come along. Hey, what's up? We get to know them. And like that, they start doing something in the church. Whether it be being an usher, whether it be part of the praise team, whether it be working with the youth, whether it be working sound department, we start to get jealous. Whoa, hold up. I've been a member of this church for X amount of years. This person comes in 3 months and they're already doing something. This ain't right. Well, why are you letting your pride get in the way instead of you talking to the pastor when you've been a member for years? We don't like that, do we? I don't. Trust me. I was always wondering, why do they get that? I want that. But guess what? You don't need that because God has something better for you. There's always something that he'll give you that he won't give them. Why? Because we each have a different calling. Some of us have the same calling. Pastor Corey has a calling to preach. He's doing this series because we have a calling to preach. Now, the way we preach it is different. That's where each gift comes in separately. He has something that I don't have. He has a church. But guess what I can do? I have a school. See? We each have something different that somebody else doesn't have. My dad has a job. Most of y'all have a job. It's not the same job, is it? Guess what? There's your chance to do something. And so we often let our pride get in the way. And that's when we ask, when are my camels coming? When are my blessings coming? When am I going to get what I deserve? But guess what? What you deserve is not always what God has for you. And that's where we got to be careful with what we ask. Because God has something. It may not always be what we want, but it's what we need. And I want you to think about this real quick. My youth pastor said this from my old church, and he said, no one has ever choked swallowing their pride. Ouch. That hurt me because I was a prideful child. I still am sometimes. I'm not going to deny it. But if I swallow my pride and put it aside, don't you think I can do a whole lot more with that than with my pride? He doesn't deserve to be taught about God. Look at him. He's over there doing drugs. Oh, she don't deserve that. She with a man every 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. If we humble ourselves down and we look at what we've done, isn't it the same as them? God don't see sin at different levels. Everything's the same to him. But we like to make pets of certain sins. Oh, come here, little lying dog. You can help me get out of this one. Oh, you can help me get out of that one. And lies build after lies and after lies. But we're just doing the same thing that they're doing. It's just a different sin. It's the same level. So it doesn't matter. And then I want to come back to the Father, what he said. Luke 15:31 and 32 says, his father said to him, look, dear son. He didn't have to answer him. At any moment, He could have said, all right, cool, stay outside. Simple as that, right? But no. He said, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. Why? He's the older son. As soon as he dies, his son gets it. So he's like, everything I have is yours. And what I'm still going to get after I die is still yours. Why? Because you're the first son. So why are you crying? We got to celebrate this happy day. For your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he's found. He's saying he was gone, but now he's back. In other words, what did the dad say? Put your pride aside and let's celebrate. You've been with me the entire time. There's nothing to cry about. Stop being a little girl. Just come on. Nothing against little girls. All right? Just make that clear. He said, you're just like those 99 sheep that stayed faithful to me. But your brother is that one lost sheep that decided to leave. And now that he's come back, I have to rejoice. And so, what did he do? That younger son decided to go through the fire, just like Juan said last week. He decided to go through a fire, and his father led him because he had something to learn. And what did he say? It's all right, you're good to go. But now it's his time to rise from the ashes. Now it was time to come back from that setback. Now he's alive. Let's rejoice. And what many of us don't realize is that God lets us be in the fire to set us free. We go through the fire to let something down. Like the story of Daniel. They were in chains, they were in ropes, and when they came out free. They left something behind. And when we let something behind, leave it behind. Why go back to something that God already set you free from? Let's move on. And our pride many of the time says, Jesus, you're in the way, move. But guess what Jesus responds? He could just ignore you. He could do something to you, but he responds out of love and says, no, I am the way. He's the only one that can say, I am, because he's the great I am. He's the only true I that matters. Because why do we live? Not for me, but for the King. What does Galatians 2:20 says? I have been crucified with Christ. And who lives? It's no longer I that lives, but it's Christ that lives in me. He's the I that matters. The greater is he that lives in me than he who lives in the world. Simple as that. Another thing that my youth pastor from my old church said, our job is to run the race, not design it. It's already been designed. It's already meant to be that way. It's not meant to be our way. Something John Lee brought up in one of our youth meetings. He said, our life is free will, but it's also predetermination. Why? At the moment, it's free will. We get to choose what we want. But God already knew that's what we were going to choose. So he already had that path designed. He already had that raced in this certain manner. We didn't design it. We just run it. That's all we do. Right? And so his thoughts and his ways are much higher than ours. But with our pride, we say, no, God, this can happen to this. If God's called you to be a missionary, no, God, I don't want to go to Africa. Who said you have to go to Africa? You can be a missionary in your own job. You can be a missionary in your own house. You can be a missionary to your own family. God's called you to preach. Nah, I don't want to run a church. You know how much work that takes? Who said you have to be a preacher at a church? You can be an evangelist. Oh no, God, I don't want to travel. You don't have to travel. You can be in your own state. There's many things that we think of that come straight to our mind, but our job is to run the race, not design it. We're not supposed to make our own path. God already has a path predetermined for us. And so let's put this into perspective real quick. The story. Who does the Father represent? God. And many times he gets out of his way to give us what we deserve. But we also get what we don't deserve. That's called grace. We get grace and mercy. We don't deserve either of them, but he gives it to us. Why? Because he loves you. He don't need you. He don't need me, but he wants us. That's why he created us. We just can't let our pride get in the way of that, because then we see what God never gave us. We focus on the bad and we neglect others like the older brother did. The father always had compassion and love. So one thing he always had, he ran to go get to get the younger son, and he went outside out of his way to come back and get the older son to come back with him. The younger son was rebellious. The older son was a Pharisee. Oh, really? I did this. I stay with you. But he leaves and he gets something? Nah, that ain't how it's going to work. I'm going to get what I deserve. You don't deserve anything. You happen to get it by chance. It's a miracle that God placed you there. He placed you there for a reason. So, God has always placed us where we need to be because he's designed that race. And God is dying to give it to us, right? But God's always dying to give us his best. Even when things look bad, he's giving us our best. Even when we're in that waiting room, he's preparing something for us. He's getting something ready for us for the best. And instead of letting our pride position us, let God position you. Why? So you can receive his best. Because when we choose our path, that'll never work, we're settling for less than what God has. Our path leads to death. Is that the best? Is that what you want? I don't want death. So, if God's giving his best, it's like, I'm going to put this, let's say it this way. If you have a chance to receive a small diamond or big gold, which one are you going to take? The diamond, right? It's worth more. It's all how you see things. It's about how you get things in perspective. I saw this picture once. It was two bunnies, all right? It's funny because we're in Easter. But there was a carrot leaf right here, and it was about this small, right? And then there was another bunny right here, but the carrot leaf was this tall. Which one do you think is good? The bigger leaf, right? Underground, though, it was a tiny little carrot. Over here, this carrot was bigger than the leaf itself. See, we let our eyes deceive us. That's why man looks on the outside, but God looks on the inside. And because we choose what looks best, we're settling for God's less. Because God always has a better. But we don't always see that better because we're just dealing with something. We're too busy to do something. We're too busy. Nah, I'm good. We're too busy worried about ourselves and what we really need. Now, I'm not saying this to get onto anybody. If anything, I'm getting on myself. Because when I did this message and I just thought about it, it wouldn't get out of my head. It was speaking to me even in ways that I didn't even see it in. All of this message spoke to me, which shows me that I didn't do anything. It was all God. So glory to him. And so I never designed this race. I ran it. I'm just going where God leads me. Now, obviously, we're going to steer off a little bit, but guess what? God's going to come back this way. This is the way it's supposed to be. Pastor Stephen Furtick once said this. See, when you understand that God is positioning you, he don't fear what people might do to you. Why? Because God's positioning you. Because there's not a situation that they can put you in that God will not show up in the midst of. Meaning what? When God puts you here, nobody can touch you unless you allow them to get into your head. Why? Because God's giving you his best. He's letting you run the race that it was meant to be ran. He's making you take the path that you were made to take. And so, it's like a child. You can throw them into the water and let them learn for themselves, let them learn to swim for themselves, or you can help them and teach them. So, God's like that father teaching you this way. No, don't do that. Do this. This is how it's meant to be done. But if you let God position you, there's always something better. And so that's why the whole point of this message was, like, if we can put the last slide up there. It's the title again. And so, what do we see in the title? We got the on above, positioning of, and then pride slanted down. The can represent your success. Positioning of can represent your deception. You're starting to go down and you don't even realize it. And pride, guess what? You're going down. I want God to position me. Even though I may be stuck somewhere, even though I may be waiting for something, even though I'm struggling through something, I know something's going to be better. I know God's going to give me his best. Why? Because I endured that test. So regardless of what's going on right now, I'm here to encourage you and tell you that God's going to position you for something better than what you thought you had.